They all stared at her in disbelief for a moment. Had she lost it? Was this nothing but exam nerves? Clearly Rebecca was having a mental breakdown or something. What did she think? That the security chief and the snatchers were eating the gifted kids or something? What are you talking about? Dex asked. I'm talking about that thing that Dunstan saw when Dr. Hammarskjöld touched his hand earlier, Rebecca said. Dex turned to look at Dunstan and saw what he should have seen all along. Dunstan looked terrible. It looked like someone had socked him in the guts and just never taken their fist away. He looked like he had eaten some bad mess hall chow and was now wondering which end it was going to come out of. More than that, the kid looked scared, and Dexter suddenly wondered what he had seen in the little doctor's head. Dunstan, what is she talking about? Dunstan looked up, and for a minute, Dex didn't think he was going to tell him. He looked like he would rather drink from the toilet he was sitting on than tell him what he'd seen. But when Rebecca told him it was okay and that he needed to tell them what he had told her, he nodded and pushed up off the lid. As he stood up, Dex noticed for the first time just how small he was. Dunstan was maybe 12 or 13, too young for any of this, but weren't they all? He supposed the kindergarten really didn't care what your age was. It was all about whatever freak powers you had that they could take advantage of. By the sound of it, it wasn't just them utilizing powers. If Rebecca had the right of it, something else entirely was going on behind the scenes. Okay, Dunstan said. Listen up, because I'm only going to tell this once. I think I'd rather suck on the barrel of a gun than tell this story a second time, so one is all you're going to get. After my exam, I was feeling lightheaded. I fainted, or maybe I tripped, and Dr. Hammarskjöld put a hand out to help me up. I shouldn't have touched him. I should have known better, but I took his hand, and I saw everything. I saw him as a little kid getting made fun of. I saw him as he learned about his powers and discovered that he could manipulate people with them. I saw him dancing with a pretty girl at a school dance. I saw him getting picked up by the kindergarten. I saw him going through the same training that those of us in the Blue Band program go through. And I saw him seeing what it is that lurks in the bowels of the facility. Some monster in the basement? Marcia asked. Dex looked over at Gerald, but the boy seemed to be lost in thought, as if he was thinking of something he wasn't saying. When Dr. Hammarskjöld was about 15 years old, he washed out of the kindergarten. That's what they call it when you don't graduate. Washing out. He didn't wash out completely. Something to do with his power set, but they took him to the juicing room so that they could take his powers and wash him out. What in the hell are you... Dexter started, but Dunstan held up a hand. I don't know, but don't interrupt me, okay? Everything I got secondhand, so I'm not 100% sure on all the stuff that I saw in his head. Just know that when you wash out, that's what happens. Anyway, Security Chief Ridley had come to see him. I guess they were student and mentor or something. I don't think he was the security chief then, though. But he liked to pick on Dr. Hammarskjöld, and he was upset. Dr. Hammarskjöld wanted to graduate. He considered it a huge disappointment that he wasn't going to graduate with the rest of them. Ridley assured him that there were worse things than washing out, but Dr. Hammarskjöld wasn't having any of it. He went on a little bit of a tear, telling him how it wasn't fair that his power set had been off the chart and that he should have been allowed to graduate. Ridley told him again, in a much more patient voice than any of us have ever heard from him, that these things happened and that he couldn't take them to heart. Dr. Hammarskjöld pointed at him and accused him of cheating. He said he just didn't want him to graduate because he was a dwarf, because he was an embarrassment, because he didn't want his perfect little kindergarten to graduate someone like him, and how this is a prime example of bigotry and prejudice, and and all that. Ridley let him go ahead and finish. Then in his sweetest voice, he asked him if he wanted to come to the graduation ceremony with him. Dr. Hammarskjöld told him he could go fuck himself, but Ridley held out a hand and said if he wanted to come see the graduation so badly, then he might as well come along before he missed it. For a moment, it didn't seem like Dr. Hammarskjöld was going to go with him, but then he took his hand and came along, wanting to see what the end result was. Dunstan had their full attention now. No one interrupted him, all of them hanging on his every word. Even Rebecca was leaning in. She had heard it all before, but there was a big difference between whispered news and hearing the whole story. Whispered revelations were one thing, but a story is always better. So he went with them, the two of them going to an observation platform just off the hall. It's behind one of those doors that are always locked, and Ridley unlocked it with a key card. He stepped inside, but there was someone else in there who was wearing the security uniform that Ridley usually wears. The man asked what he thought he was doing, and to take that student back because only administrators were allowed in here. Ridley smiled and said it was okay. Dr. Hammarskjöld was a washout, and he needed to understand what exactly was involved in graduation. The man started to bluster, but Ridley gave him a look, and he shut up and turned away. He wasn't in charge yet, but I got the feeling that Ridley got what he wanted even then. The observation glass looked out onto a dark stone room, and as Dr. Hammarskjöld squinted at it, the door opened and two people walked out. Dr. Hammarskjöld knew them as Katie and Isaac, and they were both green bands. Isaac was someone who had been very rude to Dr. Hammarskjöld, and it made his blood boil to see him walk so smugly into that room. What was Isaac's power? Rebecca asked, but Dunstan put a hand up. I don't know. Don't interrupt. Ridley invited Dr. Hammarskjöld to sit, but the little doctor told him he would stand. He wanted to see everything, and he knew that at his height, standing would be the only way to do it. So the two of them walked into the cave, and for a moment they were confused. It was dark in there, the interior lit only by a kind of fluorescent fungi. They were looking around, all confused, and then something moved at the other end. Dr. Hammarskjöld saw it as a giant moving pile of limbs. It was an amorphous black pudding of a thing, and it was covered in arms and legs and mouths. It scrambled towards the pair slowly, feeling them out with some kind of extra sense, and as the surprise wore off and the horror set in, Dr. Hammarskjöld moved away from the glass and asked Ridley what the hell that was. Ridley told him that was graduation. This was the graduation ceremony. And did Dr. Hammarskjöld really wish that he had graduated? Because if he really thought there'd been an error, then they could make sure that he went down and graduated with Isaac and Katie. Dr. Hammarskjöld didn't say anything. He was struck dumb by what he had witnessed, and he just stood there with his back against the metal chair that was strapped to the floor near the glass. The creature shambled towards the students. Dr. Hammarskjöld was pretty sure they couldn't see it. It was nearly as dark as the cave, and they didn't even know it was there until it was right on top of them. It didn't eat them. It just sort of breathed them in. It took a big whiff of the air, and when they saw it, he saw both of them fall back against the wall and begin to scream. He couldn't hear it. It was soundproof inside the booth, but he felt sure they were screaming nonetheless. The creature loomed over them and took a big gulp of air. It breathed them in, slurping up their essence, and when it moved away, Dr. Hammarskjöld saw that there was nothing but human husks left behind against the rock. He looked at them for a very long time, and when Ridley put his hands on the small shoulders, Dr. Hammarskjöld shuddered as if he'd been dipped in water. Ridley told him this was what happened when people graduated. He said this is what they did with the essence they took from the students when they washed out. It all went to this creature in order to keep it sleepy and docile. Dr. Hammarskjöld told him, his voice shaky, that he'd tell people about this. He said he'd go out and tell everyone what was going on here, and that this whole place would be nothing but a smoking crater within a year. But Ridley just laughed. Ridley told him to go right ahead. No one would believe him, and he'd never be allowed to work anywhere ever again. He told him something like he'd have to sneak into Canada to get a job washing dishes or something like that. The government, and especially the Blacksites, would make sure that he died in darkness, mumbling about monsters in the bottom of a government facility. Instead, Dr. Hammarskjöld decided to stay at the Blacksite. He decided to help the kids and make their sacrifice as painful as possible. He talked to Security Chief Ridley, who was promoted the next year, and tried to get him to see reason. He told him about programs they could start that would let the kids work, but not kill them. He told him just to let the thing starve, but Security Chief Ridley would only shake his head and tell him that if it wasn't fed, then it would go looking. That's what I saw, or at least that's what Dr. Hammarskjöld remembers.
Good evening, everyone. It's me, Dr. Plague. Thank you so much for joining us for tonight's show. If you think you might like a little more spooky in your life, then please feel free to click on one of the videos we have up here. Maybe look at one of the playlists if you're trying to get caught up. I know, there's so many videos on the channel. There's so many series that are going at the same time. Sometimes you just need a little refresher course, and I gotta say, I always enjoy the views. If you're not subscribed, feel free to hit that subscribe button. Maybe hit the bell so you don't miss anything. We upload a lot on this channel, so you won't want to miss a single story as they come out. If you'd like to support the channel, you can click on the Amazon link down there. There's quite a few books in my Amazon account. You can have a look, and if you'd like a signed copy, get up with me through email, and I'll be happy to work something out with you. Also, there's links to my Patreon, and you can become a member on the channel if you'd like your spooky a little bit early. Patrons and members on the $5 tier get their videos 12 hours early. That's in the morning as opposed to in the evening. Patrons at the $10 level also get a signed copy of my book anytime I write one. Speaking of my patrons, you should see them appearing right now. Just wanted to take a minute to say how much I appreciate all of you. Patrons, subscribers, however you give to the channel. I really appreciate everything you do, and it truly touches me that you have chosen to support the channel in this way. Well, that's enough for now. Till next time, Dr. Plague, signing off. Have a wonderful evening.